Our next speaker is going to also inspire you with a really amazing story. Brian Waymire is a talent buyer and a concert and a booker of bands from the Agency Coalition, but the thing that really captured my imagination when I met him is when he started describing to me the RedGorilla Music Festival, which he gave birth to in Austin, Texas, around the South by Southwest Music Festival. And you talk about a guy that makes things happen. I would characterize him as just very, very scrappy, and I'm going to let him tell you the story. Come on up here, Brian.
Thanks for lowering the mic for me. They designed this for all of the 6-foot-tall guys in the crowd tonight. So I'm primarily I'm an agent. I run a company called the Agency Coalition. We represent about 25 artists, everything from bands in town like Here Come the Mummies, Gabe Dixon, you've probably heard of a few of our other acts, all the way down to artists like Sir Mix-a-Lot, Nappy Roots. So we have a pretty diverse roster. And when I met Tom a few weeks ago, he asked me if I would just tell the story of RedGorilla, which is what I'm here to do. I guess I should preface it by saying that the way that I got into the music business in 2000, I was working for Verizon Wireless, and at the time we were transitioning from being a analog cell phone. It was called GTE actually, and there were a lot of analog cell phone users, and we were going to digital. And one of my jobs was to train people on how to use this new thing called text messaging. Which back then was called VText. So I was sitting on the steps of a friend who's in the business one night, just teaching him how to send a text message, and he said, "You should manage bands." So here I am, who knew? So I said, "Well, how would you do that?" And I've always loved music. I've been a musician. But never thought I'd really find myself in the business side of it. So I gave it a shot. I said, "How would you do that?" He said, "Go find a band that you really love, a band that you're passionate about, and just tell them you want to manage them." So about 6 months later, I left my day job, found a band in Austin, Texas that was playing in front of about 20 people, and the rest is history. About a year into working with that band, we had submitted them to play at South by Southwest, and we didn't get a showcase for them. So at the time, they were a pretty well-known Austin band, and they were drawing about 1,500 people or so in Austin. So we just found a new venue that wasn't a part of that festival, and we said, "Hey, can we throw a party here?" And so, who knew? A showcase for one indie artist could turn into a festival that this year will showcase over 450 artists. It's been an amazing journey. I can honestly say it completely happened by accident, and that's what I'm here to tell you about. So we started as a showcase for one band. It was a new bar called the Chuggin' Monkey, a little 250 capacity venue on 6th Street. And we really did it out of necessity. We needed to showcase for some industry people. So we just put them on stage. One stage, 4 bands, and I put in here one of the bands didn't show up. So there you go. We called it the Dreamscapers Artist Showcase at that time. The next year we we were asked back to that venue. We went to 2 nights, 12 artists on that year. The next year, similar thing, 27 artists. At that time, word was sort of starting to spread that Chris, my co-founder, and I just knew how to throw a party, basically. So we were starting to showcase some bands that were getting some buzz. And in year 4, we had over 100 artists on 5 stages. At that time, we were having to turn away hundreds of bands who wanted to play our showcases. So our little showcase had just gotten out of hand, and it was about then that I met some dear friends of mine, Candace and Jim, who run the International Songwriting Competition and a couple other great organizations. And Candace had founded a festival called the Nemo Festival in Boston, which was an early showcaser for independent artists. And she said, what you've really got here is a festival and not just a showcase. And she was right. So that year we put our heads together, and the festival was accidentally born out of a need to showcase talent on the rise. So to sum up 15 years almost into 8 minutes, over the next few years we would showcase some incredible talent. Everybody from Cage the Elephant, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, Imagine Dragons, Foster the People. I could name hundreds of examples like that, Kendrick Lamar. We just got lucky with these artists in a lot of ways. I mean, I can say we have a great listening committee that has good ears, but for the most part, we got really lucky. And those artists needed a platform at that time. I can remember when Imagine Dragons and Foster the People played, they played back to back, and nobody was there. I mean, there were maybe 25 people in the venue when they played. If you can imagine that, the big star that night was Andrew WK. But one thing that's important to remember, and I wanted to make sure I got this point across tonight, is that we didn't do it alone. We had some incredible help from some great organizations. By year 5 and 6, we were having people who were throwing these amazing industry parties. All the while, we did keep everything free and open to the public. So we're a completely unticketed event. There's no wristband, no ticket. If you want to come to RedGorilla, you just walk into one of our 10 stages. We started some smaller events in about 10 other markets, and we do plan to grow these into larger festival events, but for now, they've just been little seeds that we've planted. We've tried to find some good local artists to put on those and showcase, and then most of those artists actually come to play the bigger festival in Austin. In 2016, the festival will be March 14th through the 19th. It's on 6th Street. We have 10 stages. We'll play about, I say 450 plus artists. It'll probably be around 520 this year. We've added some days, and now we start the festival in a couple of our venues. We'll start the festival on Sunday night, but we'll run for 6 days. We'll run bands and singer-songwriters, DJs, on stages every 40 minutes from noon to 2 a.m. And it's still free to the public and still growing, so who knew?
How about a couple questions for that entrepreneur? Yes, sir. Belt it out.
Through the partners that I mentioned before in a couple of those slides, we do have some great sponsors on board. So people like Pledge Music or Copycats, who have been fantastic over the years to give us some dollars to be able to fund that. Some of the venues do come out of pocket for some production as well.
Do the artists pay any fees as part of that?
No, the submission fees. The artists do pay submission fees to submit, and we do that on our own website, but that really doesn't finance the event at all. So that's a tiny little piece.
400 bands. Really? Holy crap. That's unbelievable. Brian Waymire, folks.